hands together and welcome to the stage, Katerina Strani!
I know. It all started when I asked my next door neighbor for a shag. It was September 1997. I had just come here from Greece, and you know how would it go? You know how the song goes. She came from Greece. She had a thirst for knowledge, and I went to my next door neighbor. His name was Hassan. He was from Egypt, and I said to him, "Hi, Hassan. I'm Katerina. I live next door. In any chance of a shag, please?" He said, "What?" I said, "Sorry, we haven't even really met, and I probably just woke you up. But I could really use one right now, so how about it?" I said, "I'm sorry, I'm from Egypt. We don't do things like this. It's very, very inappropriate." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm from Greece, and we do things exactly like that." Everyone does it. The old, the young. I was about 16, 17 when I started. My friend Maria helped me a lot at school. She said that I should really do it if I needed to fit in. And I found it difficult at first. You know, the taste was a bit funny and it wasn't very pleasant. But you know, I got the hang of it, and in the end, I really liked it. And now I'm an addict. So come on, Hassan, please, how about it? He said, "No, I'm sorry, this is highly inappropriate, and I'm not going to give you a shag." I said, "Okay, I'm sorry, I think that I've offended you, and I do apologize. I mean, all I wanted was, you know, a shag." "You mean a fag?" Is that what I said? No? Well, this actually happened. And thank God Hassan was actually a nice guy. Otherwise it could have turned out much worse. The point of that story is that I was someone who just moved here from another country and speaking a language that's different to my own. Or different from my own, I should say. See, I don't even speak correctly. There are thousands of people who do the same. Thousands of people who move from their home country to another country to work, to study, to follow loved ones. We call these people new speakers because the first thing they have to do is learn the language. Now, new speakers are a very hot topic in the EU. And by the way, I didn't come up with that term. My colleague Bernie O'Rourke did. She's a proper academic. It is a very hot topic in the EU because of the free movement of citizens, of workers, and all that. So new speakers are increasing in numbers. Probably because they're going off, you know, asking natives for shags. And there has been a lot of research on immigration policy and how people integrate culturally in new countries, blah, blah, blah. I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in how new speakers integrate into political life. Yeah, rock and roll, yeah, politics. Yeah, that's the really heavy stuff. Because new speakers need to participate in political life because they actually contribute to all other aspects of life. You know, cultural policy and all that. They pay their taxes, for once. Even the Greeks. Or maybe it's just me. And because they are part of the community, they need to be able to participate in political life. And that could be really difficult because even if your English is very good, sometimes there are nuances that you might not understand, you know, especially if you can't tell your fags from your shags. Or, you know, if the topic turns to religion, for example, you might get confused there. Things might get a bit tricky, like I found when I went to Belgium for 6 months as an exchange student. And I went to a Bible study, where I stood up and I declared with pride in front of everyone that I was an Orthodox cretin. Apparently the words Christian and cretin in French sound very similar. So, you know, you really have to help new speakers because they can't go around, you know, mixing up their Christians with their cretins or their fags with their shags, you know, it's gonna happen. Because in the end, political participation and any type of participation in community is about acceptance. It's about accepting the other person and their beliefs and their arguments. And acceptance can be a little bit difficult when you're in a foreign country. My flatmate Conchita found that from Spain. That's not her real name, actually, you know. But I'm just naming her Conchita now because I respect her privacy. She arrived here many years ago, and when she first arrived here, she had problems making friends. So, being accepted and all that. So she bought herself a puppy, and she joined the dogging internet forum. As you do. She was out most nights. Always came back with a smile on her face. Sometimes didn't even take her dog with her. So she didn't have a problem making friends after that. But she did have problems at university, I have to say. She just found it all very boring. She couldn't really fit into academic life. And I asked her one day, I said, Conchita, so how's it going? Come on, how's it going at university? How are you finding it here? Are you fitting in? And she said, oh no, I'm sorry, it's so boring. I hate university. And I said, well, why? It's just very boring. I couldn't keep my eyes open today. I was sleeping. My head was going like this. In class, you know what it's like when you can't even stay awake. I said, yeah, I know the feeling. She said, no, you don't. In Spanish, we have a phrase for it. It's called to give head like this. I mean, I really hope she didn't find out what that really meant when she was out dogging with her friends. You know, it's hard for new speakers, though, because it's not just a matter of language. It's also the fact that people argue differently. People who come from different countries argue differently. Take my husband and I, for example. I'm Greek, my husband's English, and we argue a lot. Usually we argue for trivial things, but when we argue about really serious things, really serious matters, the Mediterranean in me comes out and I scream and I shout at the top of my voice and I make all sorts of threats. And in the end, I end every single argument with, "You've ruined my life." To which he says, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way." And then, you know, we argue about the trivial things, and when we argue about trivial matters, then I just scream and I shout at the top of my voice, and I made all kinds of threats, and I end up with things like, "You don't deserve me." To which he says, "Well, darling, I don't think anybody does." Different ways of arguing. So it's really difficult for new speakers. We have to actually embrace the fact that they exist in political life, and we have to foster their participation. We have a French MSP for the northeast of Scotland, for God's sake. He's a new speaker. Look what he achieved. We have Polish councillors. Multilingualism and multiculturalism in the public sphere is here to stay, and we need to foster and embrace it. Because otherwise, you might end up with, I don't know, the next discussion in Parliament about revising the Dangerous Dogging Act. Or about revising the law on having the right to have a shag in your car with children at the back. I'm Katerina Strani. Thank you very much.